Hey folks, welcome back to Welcome to My World. It is Dominique and I am back here with you. I wanted to talk with you today about a subject we've actually discussed in a couple of videos that I have done. I just wanted to kind of give you a quick, shorter version of the longer videos that I have on my YouTube channel, Dominique Does Life. I wanted to just give you a little primer on the subject instead of a long drawn out video, although you're more than welcome to check my videos out as well. Again, on Dominique Does Life, the subject I'm about to discuss is laid out best in my very first video on Dominique Does Life. So if you do want to look into what I'm going to be speaking about on the subject more in depth, check out Dominique Does Life. Check out my very first uploaded video ever. And that'll give you some more in-depth information on this subject. So, first I want to apologize for the background noise before we begin. I've got my air purifiers going and they're a little loud, so if that is disturbing to you, I can't hear what you can hear, so let me know and I will make sure to find another way to do this in future. We always want to keep improving around here, so feel free to leave your respectful feedback, and I will be happy to give you a respectful answer or resolution to your respectful feedback, and that's how we do. So, we're going to talk today about how to disarm a narcissist or a sociopath or a cluster B, or heck, even just a difficult person, but really this is geared toward narcissists and sociopaths and other cluster B individuals, okay? So this is really where this advice is going to shine, okay, with people like that, with people on the cluster B spectrum, i.e. having sociopathy. So antisocial personality disorder is sociopathy. Narcissistic personality disorder, which is self-explanatory, histrionic personality disorder, or borderline personality disorder. This is where the advice I'm going to give you is really going to shine if you're dealing with somebody like this. Now, on this channel, right here on Spreaker, as well as on my YouTube channel, Dominique Does Life, I do talk about what cluster B is, how to identify somebody who falls on the cluster B spectrum. And if you want more information about that, I do urge you to check out my YouTube channel, Dominique Does Life. And so make sure that you click like and subscribe on Dominique Does Life. Now, right now, we're going to really get down to the nitty gritty. Okay, so without too much backstory and explanation, I am going to tell you a brief bit about narcissists and sociopaths and why they like to target and why they like to abuse and why they like to sort of victimize people, for lack of a more appropriate word. So these folks are people who are threatened by you. Okay, if you're being targeted, it's not because they think you're less than them or they think you're actually doing something wrong. They're targeting you because they're scared of you. They're intimidated by you. They fear that you have uncovered what is beneath their mask and that you're going to show everybody else, and that they will be discovered to be, the fraud that they are. By the general populace, by the people at work, by, the community, what have you. And so they're threatened by you because of that. And so please don't take that to mean that you're an inferior person or that they think you're a bad person. They don't. They actually think you are better than they are, and you may well be a better person than they are. These people are severely lacking on many levels. So you may well be a better person than they are. It's very likely, in fact, that you are a better person than they are. And this is what they've seen in you. So don't believe the hype. Don't buy into the lies and the BS and the, targeting and the disrespect. Don't believe the hype. They know that you are a better person than they are on many, many different levels. And that frightens them. And that's why they're targeting you. They don't believe you've actually done anything wrong. They don't believe you're a bad person. They want other people to believe that long enough to distract them, so that other people can't become invested in finding out what's underneath that mask that they put on, right? Okay, so I'm going to tell you, first and foremost, if you can, if you're not in a work situation, if you're not in, if you're in a personal relationship, get away. If you're not in a work situation of any kind or a professional situation, get away. Leave the sociopath. Leave the narcissist. I understand that if it is a work or professional situation, you can't do that. And this is where I'm going to try to help you out. If you're in a situation like that where you can't leave, or you can't leave right now, this is for you. And this is where I come in. Okay, this is what I do every day, day in and day out. People come to me for coaching and counseling and advice on how to deal with the cluster Bs that they have to deal with day in and day out. And I'll tell you, it really does take a load off of people's minds to know that nobody actually thinks that they're a bad person or that they're doing anything wrong. It's all about targeting you to try to smear you because you frighten the narcissist or sociopath. And sadly, we do happen to see narcissists and sociopaths working together as a team. And sort of narcissists, what we call like major and minor sort of narcissists. So a narcissist who's really grandiose and really out of control might be working with more of a sociopath, or a narcissist who's a little more covert, right? So they do work together in teams when it benefits both of them. If it no longer benefits them, watch them go head to head and just step back and enjoy. But if you are dealing with somebody who is targeting you, if you are in a professional situation, if you're at work, if you're in a community involvement sort of situation, maybe you're volunteering, maybe you're some sort of a community leader or organizer, maybe, the narcissist or sociopath is your boss or a coworker and you can't quit your job. I mean, heck, that would be letting them win anyway, right? So if that's you, then listen up. So, like I said, first and foremost, if you can get away, get away. If it's not like a work or a professional or like a community involvement sort of situation, then leave, go, get out of here. You can't change the person. You can't confront the person. Okay? You can never tell that person, hey, guess what? I know that you're a narcissist or a sociopath, or I know that you're a bad person. Don't ever confront them. If you don't need to interact with them, don't. If you have a lot of feelings tied up with this person, don't attempt any of the tactics that I'm about to describe. If you feel that you can play it cool, or if you just don't really have a lot of personal feelings tied up with this individual or these individuals who are targeting you, and they're flying monkeys, they're support personalities that they're relying on to spread false news about you, then feel free to use the tactics I'm about to describe. So, if you must deal with a narcissist or sociopath or both, and they're attempting to make your life difficult, now again, real quick PSA one more time for those who are sitting in the back, the way back. If you're not in a situation that you can't get out of, or if they're not targeting you, I really can't emphasize enough how much you need to leave the situation and simply leave them alone and just extricate yourself without involving yourself with them any further. Okay. If you're not being targeted and you can get out of the situation, you're sitting pretty right now. You're good to go, so don't make yourself a target. Now, if you're listening in, you're probably already a target. So, again, just a PSA. So there are a few things you can do if you find yourself being targeted, having to work with folks like these, right? Although you can't shame a narcissist, you can't shame a sociopath, you can temporarily shut them down or even force a public meltdown. No, I want to emphasize another point with you. Simply knowing that this person is a narcissist or a sociopath, and again, not saying it, you don't ever want to say that to a narcissist or a sociopath. The best kind of knowledge to have about somebody like that is private knowledge, okay? But if you know that this person is a narcissist or a sociopath, or you suspect that they're a narcissist or a sociopath, you already have the upper hand. I know it might not seem like it, but you do. You are the one in power. You are the one with all of the power. You hold most of the cards, in fact, and you have a great opportunity. It isn't necessarily a fun opportunity, but it is a great opportunity to control messaging. It really is just an absolute gem of an opportunity for you. So you're going to control the messaging here. Now, there are a few things you can do. Sociopaths, I'm going to just put this out there, and this is a great way to call out a sociopath. Not always narcissists, more sociopaths than anything often use words incorrectly. They seem to think they're more intelligent than the average bear and or want other folks to believe that they are in fact more intelligent than the average bear. For the most part, that is not the case. Their lack of empathy kind of handicaps them, and it allows them to, and provokes them, in fact, to say and do things other people wouldn't, because people like you and I know that those things are downright ridiculous, and we wouldn't say or do any of those goofy things. Their calculations are actually often a handicap to them. So the fact that they're so calculating and that they're lacking in empathy is a handicap to them, believe it or not. Then it's a boon to you. Particularly since there is no, like I said, no empathy, no capacity for compassion or kindness whatsoever to balance out those calculations, that calculating nature that they have. And there's no shame and no caution to balance that calculating nature out. Okay, very important point there. They don't have any of the characteristics you and I have that would balance out that, kind of calculating Machiavellian nature. I know many people who are Machiavellian to some extent, but they're not without empathy. They're not without compassion. Sociopaths are. Narcissists are. Okay, so right there you've got the upper hand on them. You know that this is true, and you also have the ability to be compassionate and empathetic. Okay, now if a sociopath or a narcissist, for that matter, uses a word incorrectly, which is something that sociopaths are known to do for whatever reason, probably because they don't have empathy and they don't quite get the whole social interaction thing. If they happen to do that in front of you, at a meeting, in company, what have you, there's a great little thing you can do. Now, you've got to be the one to judge whether the time's right for this and whether this is appropriate in any given circumstance that you might be in where you notice this happening. But I'm going to give you some advice. It's from one of my favorite YouTube personalities. She says, stop them in their tracks without making any eye contact, without giving them any clue to why you're asking them, hey, I'm sorry, what did you just say? Well, what word did you just use there? So stop them in their tracks. Don't give them any clue to why you're asking. Don't make any eye contact. Don't use any don't utilize any emotional response of any kind, and maybe get out your smartphone, crack open Webster's dictionary, whatever, and look up the word that they just misused. And then ask them again to repeat that word. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure everybody here in this meeting is understanding what's being said. Could you repeat that word? Okay. Oh, well, gosh, right here, it says that word doesn't exist. I wonder what word you were trying to use, just so that we can get this straight for the record. Just so we can get this all straight. Okay. Now, you might want to ask them, okay, maybe that word wasn't correct, but what were you intending to say? And when they say what they were supposedly intending to say by using this ridiculous made-up word that they just made up on the spot, you can say, well, here's the word I think you might have been intending to use. It doesn't mean what you think it means. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I'm looking right here at the Webster's app on my phone, and yeah. So just to clarify for everybody who's here attending this meeting, or everybody who's here listening to this speech or whatever, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same train of thought here. So let's clarify this, just so everyone is on the same train of thought, just so we're all up to speed. This, a normal person being called out about using a wrong word might be a little embarrassed for a second, but they'd be like, okay, you got me. You're right. I totally misused that word. A sociopath will literally either completely shut down and just stop functioning like a robot that is, sparking like a broken toaster oven or something, like a robot that just had a malfunction, or they will go into this heated rage and just have a public meltdown. Now, you actually want to force meltdowns like this. You want to force them to fall out of step with the behavior that they wrap around them like a second skin, like an identity that really isn't genuine to who they are. So you want to force those gears to kind of grind to a halt. You want to force them to kind of fall out of step. And you want other people to see when this happens, right? Now, narcissists, we were just talking about sociopaths. Narcissists can actually be made to kind of curl up and lick their wounds for a bit if they are made to look silly. Okay? Now, it's really important that if you're going to make them look silly, you don't look like the aggressor. You look like the level-headed, common sense speaking, person who everyone can trust, which you probably are, but you don't want to take the chance of looking like a jerk, right? So, the narcissist, on the other hand, is probably totally full of it, but they're happy to play the put-upon victim, the maverick truth speaker, when no one else will speak truth, man. I'm just speaking the truth. I don't know why everybody hates me so much. Yeah, right. It's totally fake persona that they have adopted in order to trick people into whatever their goal of the moment is, and in order to trick people to falling in line with them. So, again, you're a genuine person. They're somebody who's got this fake adopted persona. Now, they hate to be made into figures of fun. They hate it. Making a narcissist look silly without coming across as a jerk or an aggressor will send them into a flat-out meltdown. And again, when you're dealing with a narcissist or a sociopath, you're never trying to prove a point to them. You're never going to want to defend yourself. You don't want to be on the defensive. You want to be on the offensive with them. So when it comes to people like that, cluster Bs, narcissists, sociopaths, it's really important that you don't try to affect how they think of you. You want to actually affect how other people view them. So it's not about you, okay? It's not about you. It is actually completely about them, and it's about influencing public opinion, company opinion, what have you. Basically, in favor of you and against them, right? Now, you're not going to be making up false statements and putting out false information like the narcissist or the sociopath is. You're going to be using the truth in very specific ways to try to make sure that people see them for who they are. Again, you're going to be using the truth to try to make sure that people see them for who they are. So it's not about you. It's never about you. Okay, but like I say, they hate to be made into figures of fun. They hate to not be taken seriously. All right. Now, we could get into why that is, but I'm not going to do that right now. Check out my YouTube channel. Peruse to your heart's content. We've discussed all of that there many, many times. So, I'm going to ask you something. Have you ever wondered why Donald Trump, for instance, gets so hot under the collar when Alec Baldwin plays him to such good effect on SNL? Well, heck, most of us would love it if Alec Baldwin or Kate McKinnon or Melissa McCarthy played us on TV, right? That would be hilarious. Narcissists, however, can't stand ridicule. They also don't understand the difference between like gentle teasing or, people laughing with them and people laughing at them or being made fun of, being looked at as figures of fun, being ridiculed. Okay. So they don't understand the difference there. In their mind, there is no difference between them doing something silly and everyone laughing with them and them doing something silly and everyone laughing at them. They don't get that because, again, they don't have empathy. They don't have compassion, and they really don't understand those key components of the human condition. Okay. So, one thing that has worked for me personally, and I am totally, totally serious when I say this, is calling their mental competency into question. I'm going to say that again. Calling their mental competency into question. But it's important to do so, again, in an empathetic, slightly dismissive way, and then moving on to the next topic with the folks around you. So you're going to basically kind of just bring up some questions in the minds of the people around you about this person. And then you're going to just, subject closed, move on. Just move right on. If they try to interject, steamroll them. Now, I'm not saying be rude. Just, looking down at, maybe you're in an office meeting or what have you, looking down at your sheet of paper, your laptop, what have you. Okay, so on to the next order of business. Oh, you have a question? Well, I'm sure everybody would like to get out of here at a reasonable hour. Maybe we could discuss this after the meeting. How about that? So, next order of business on the agenda. Moving right along. Don't let them interject. Okay? Don't let them interject. So, you're calling their mental competency into question in an empathetic yet slightly dismissive way. Then moving on to the next topic with the folks around you. They can't stand the rest of the room going on about their business rather than listening to the narcissist rage and rant. Now, another really good thing to do, and you might think, oh my gosh, Dominique, this is not going to have any impact. Let me tell you it will. It will. Just try it and see what happens. It will have an impact. Now, for real, guys, yawn when they're talking. Now, don't yawn so much that it would look like you're being impolite or disrespectful to the unaware folks around you, the people who are unaware of what you're actually trying to accomplish. So yawn. Look at your watch. Look at the clock. If you are not leading the meeting or what have you, snicker quietly to yourself. Now, again, not so much that it would seem rude to those around you. Okay? Look down at a book, at a computer, at your phone, at a piece of paper. You could be drawing doodles if you want, but make it look like you're doing important work when they're talking. Looking down at your book, at your notepad, at your computer, at your phone, what have you. So the main vibe you want to get across by doing this is I have more important things to lend my attention to than your silly rant. Okay? Now, it doesn't matter what they're talking about. You just look down at that piece of paper, at that computer, and if they call, whether or not you're listening into question, just, looking up at them and then looking back down. No emotion, just, And if they do go on a rant about you, we'll talk about how to handle that in a little bit. But really, just at any given time, looking away, looking down. If the snickering thing isn't going to work for you, because maybe you're a business leader, maybe you're a community leader, maybe you're in a meeting where you're the organizer, something like that, then don't do that. If you're like an audience member, if you're at a conference, whatever, then that isn't a bad idea. But really, something like that wouldn't affect you or I, but it would absolutely devastate a narcissist or a sociopath, but particularly a narcissist. So if you can, if you're one of the people who's running the meeting, if you're, the center of attention, be looking down at your sheet of paper, be looking down at your laptop or phone while they're talking, be checking your watch, be checking the clock, right? So anything that without any emotion or reaction still shows them that, hey, what you're saying is not the most important thing to me right now. This will absolutely kill them. A narcissist will be absolutely devastated by this. Absolutely devastated. Just try it and see. See what happens. If a sociopath is present at this work, situation, in this meeting or in your workplace, and they happen to stare you dead in the eyes, which they do to try to intimidate, to try to elicit an emotional response, I want you to stare them right back, dead in the eyes, remove all emotion and all reaction from your face and your body language. This means total control of micro expressions too. I know that's hard, so if you don't think you can do this, don't try. If you can, try it. Keep your face relaxed. Just giving them kind of a bored stare, like you're looking right through them. This is going to freak them right out, and it's going to make them realize really quickly, without causing any disruption to the meeting or the work going on around you, it's going to show them really quickly that you are not intimidated by them. It's just like staring down, an animal in the desert or in the jungle, like you staring down that animal so that they know you're not backing down, right? So really, if you get that sociopathic dead stare, just give them a bored stare. Look at them for a good few seconds. You can look away and then look back down at your computer, at your doodles, whatever. Just, you're not important to me. I'm doing this. Okay, so really, these are major, sort of chess moves against cluster Bs, like sociopaths and narcissists. And although they might seem minor to you, I promise that if you're dealing with a cluster B, it is not going to be minor to them. It is going to absolutely get under their skin and destroy them. And what is our goal? Well, our goal is to show other people that these folks can't be trusted and that these folks basically aren't well, and to show other people that perhaps these folks are not balanced. They're really unsteady and unbalanced. And if we can encourage a public meltdown, now obviously not suggesting that we should encourage them to hurt somebody or kill somebody or anything like that, but if we can encourage them to kind of lose their shit, if you will, in public, that will go a lot further than anything else to convincing people around them that they're not fit to be doing what they're doing. Because they're not. They're not. You just have to get this messaging under control so that other people see that, right? Okay. So another thing, if you're not leading the meeting or the interaction at hand, that works really well, is getting up abruptly in the middle of a conversation with an arc or a sociopath without any visible reaction. Now again, you're not going to be able to do this at every meeting, at every gathering, but if you can get up, give no reaction, walk away, go to the restroom, come back when they're talking, this will absolutely destroy them. If they are going on about, some accusation or some lengthy story like narcissists do often, and like even some sociopaths do, just a deadpan, interesting, or wow, cool story, with no visible reaction will shut them down. Because you got to remember, because they don't have the capacity for empathy and compassion and like human emotion in the same way that you and I do. Unless you exhibit a reaction right on your face or with very obvious and specific body language, they're not going to know that they've affected you because they can't empathize. They can't empathize, right? So just, having them say some crazy thing or make some crazy accusation and having you just glance up from your paperwork, interesting, cool story, neat. Well, getting on to the next point here. I mean, that is really going to piss them off. And it's not going to make you look bad in front of anyone else. Having a response like, how dare you say that to me? That's going to tend to make you look like whatever they just said might be true. Maybe you're the imbalanced one. Now, we know that's not true. You and I know that's not true. But you're with these awful cluster B folks, you gotta play to an audience. You have to do it. Because that's what they're doing. They're not trying to convince you that you're a bad person. That would just be dumb. I mean, you're not in a personal relationship with them. They don't care what you think about yourself. They care what everybody else thinks about you. They care about quote-unquote public opinion. So if you can show them that you have no reaction to that whatsoever, and if you can really kind of treat them like you would a child, like, interesting, when you're done with this story, it'd be really great if we could just get back to the matter at hand and focus on business. Now, as I mentioned, we are moving on to point 3 here on the agenda, paragraph 6, and, then read that paragraph and just cut them right off, right? Nobody is going to be upset with you for moving the meeting forward. I mean, do all of your coworkers want to sit there for 8.5 years? I think not. They'll be glad that you did that. They'll be glad that somebody is showing leadership and stepping forward to, put the kibosh on the shenanigans and silliness. So, no emotion, just, okay, interesting. So, as I said, item 3 on the agenda, paragraph 5, states, blah, 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 and just move right on with the meeting. Even if you're not in charge of the meeting, if they're getting into a long-winded story, you absolutely do have the right, maybe even the responsibility to interject. You really do. And you never want to allow them to control the narrative. You never want to play defense. You always want to play offense, and you always want to be the one in control of the narrative. You're going to be shutting them down at every possible turn. And I know that can be really frustrating, but that's what you're going to want to do. Consistently telling that narc or that sociopath, interesting, could be, maybe, in lieu of a more in-depth, how could you, or absolutely not, or I would never, that's going to take the wind right out of their sails. Now, if you want to get slightly more in-depth, you could say something like, what an odd or different or interesting opinion or response that was. Maybe later we can discuss pertinent matters. Maybe later we can discuss pertinent matters that are pertinent to this meeting. Maybe we can discuss what we need to discuss on this agenda as you're wrapping your story up. Okay? That's a very interesting or odd or different opinion or response you've just highlighted. But wouldn't it be great if we could get back to the task at hand? That'll cut them right off. That will cut them right off. If they get really overzealous with you, something, again, in professional settings, because if you're in a personal situation with someone like this, the best thing to do is get out. right? Get your escape plan going and get out. But in a professional setting, something along the lines of, yeah, it really sounds like you have a lot of passion and a lot of potential for dedication. And, I'm sure we would all love to see you turn that great energy and that great drive and that passion toward your job. And I will certainly be looking forward, we will certainly be looking forward to you doing that in very short order. Thanks so much for bringing that up. It certainly is important to turn that passion toward the work at hand. I appreciate you bringing that up. Now, did they really bring up anything about turning that awful, ridiculous, crazy toward the work at hand? No. But you're going to act like they did. Great. Thanks so much for bringing that up. You're right. Absolutely. We do need to turn that passion toward the work at hand. And since I have our prospectus right here, or since I have our contract right here or our agenda right here, I think this is a great opportunity to do that. Hey, thanks, Chuck, for bringing that up. So again, moving on to item 4 on our agenda, right? So saying things like, yeah, gosh, thanks, good point. We do need to turn our energy to the work at hand. When they say something crazy is a really great way to throw them for a loop. Yeah, so when they say, I saw you doing such and such, or I saw you, I don't know, doing some crazy thing that they're going to make up and try to shock everyone with during this meeting, you're going to say, great idea. You're absolutely right. We definitely do appreciate that kind of passion and drive here, and we will certainly be looking forward to seeing you turn that drive and that passion toward your job very shortly here. In very short order. Good point, Chuck. Thanks so much for bringing that up. Thanks, Jenny, for bringing that up. You're absolutely right. We do need to focus passion and drive like that toward accomplishing the important work that we need to do. So, on that note, moving right along, just bulldoze right over them. And the more you can yes and them, the better, because they're going to expect you to say something like, but, or I didn't, or what do you mean? Instead of doing that, yeah, great idea. And here's how we can build on that, is a great way to sort of distract them from their point and make sure that you're coming across as somebody who's positive and somebody who gets things done, right? You're not turning negative on them. You're not saying, oh, you say that I did this. Well, you did that. You're not going to go there. You're not going to defend yourself. You're not going to get on the defense. You're going to stay on the offense. You're going to stay on point. And if you need to, you just act like when they accused you of doing God knows what, you just act like they brought up an awesome point about how to accomplish the next item on the agenda, and thank them so much for their input and for speaking up on that matter. And then just bulldoze right over them and go on to the next item, right? So they will be so confused, and they will be so confused as to what just happened, so confused as to how the heck you just remained positive and professional and bulldozed right past them without even addressing their point, which is what you always want to do. You never address their point because they don't have one. They're just being crazy. They're going to be so confused about that they are going to be totally thrown for a loop. And if they keep trying to interject with their goofy accusations and their goofy, gotcha stories and gotcha questions, just, like I mentioned before, a simple, gosh, it seems like everybody would probably like to get out of here in a reasonable amount of time, and we are not through with the agenda yet. So moving right along to, number whatever on the agenda, right? So just, thanks for speaking up there, Tom. Moving right along to the next item on the agenda. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We do need to move along to the pertinent matters on the agenda. Just totally throw them for a loop. Be positive. Don't react emotionally. get right back to the point at hand, get right back to the professional matters that need to be addressed. Don't deign to entertain their comment or their question or their accusation. Don't answer their comment or their question or their accusation. Again, just a very interesting point. I like your passion. You're absolutely right. We do need to turn that passion toward, serving our business and our clients' needs. And I think this is a great opportunity to move along to the next item on the agenda. Right? There you go. Who can fault you for saying that? So, consistently giving that narcissist or that sociopath, or if you're really unlucky, maybe, like I said, you've got both a narcissist and a sociopath working together, consistently giving them no attention and no reaction and being positive and being professional and being forward moving is absolutely key to just destroying their argument. So I do hope that this has helped you, and if you have any questions or input or you want to share your experiences, feel free to comment right here. Thanks so much for tuning in, you guys. Be safe, be well, and remember that you don't deserve the abuse. Nobody does. So you don't have to take it. You don't have to put up with it. Right? You got this. Be well.
It's been 3 whole weeks since